Orban lost. Hungary's getting richer. They're gonna overtake Romania. Who am I gonna make fun of now? I mean, at least Romania has a stable government.
The Romanian government just collapsed, bro! €1 is almost worth 6-7 lei, bro! Everything is going down the shitter! We are gonna get poor again!
Let's take a look back to 1 year ago. Romania had a whole election crisis. The one where one far-right guy won the first round with the power of TikTok, undeclared funds, Russian bots, and some spiritual esoteric mumbo-jumbo.
Ich bin Deutsch. I'm Dacian.
Yeah, so eventually they redid those elections. The former mayor of Bucharest became president, and a new parliamentary pro-European coalition was formed. To give you a quick rundown how the Romanian parliament looks right now, the Social Democrats, PSD, perennially in charge and always f***ing shit up for the economy, the National Liberals, PNL, basically yellow PSD, Center-right Reformist Party, USR, who everyone calls sexo-Marxists, either jokingly or actually unironically, RMDS/UDMR, Hungarian staff patters, always around PSD.
Eu nu pot kívánok PSD.
So far, so good. And at the forefront of this coalition stood this guy, Prime Minister Ilie Bolojan. His main task? Fix the goddamn economy. Part of the reason of why the far right got so huge in Romania was because the previous government, led by quote-unquote left party PSD, was finding new ways of wasting money for 2 years. Which included, but was not limited to,
giving government subsidies to Coca-Cola to save their profit margins, hiring all their relatives in key public sector offices, raising pensions for the highly privileged ruling class, flying private jets to Monaco to watch the Formula One Grand Prix with money from a real estate company notorious for scamming millions of Romanians.
You know, typical left-wing activities. Naturally, skyrocketing inflation and foreign debt followed suit. Just look at these stats from 2024. Highest annual inflation rate, highest VAT gap, highest government deficit, highest gross debt to GDP ratio at over 50%. Essentially, PSD lived by the mantra, party hard and leave the bill for someone else to pay.
Pe calculator, diseară mănânc un Happy Meal și joc cu maică.
And Ilie Bolojan stepped in to be PM. Leader, bill payer, and forever scapegoat. So, how is he gonna get enough money to pay for PSD's bill? Reforms. And by reforms, I mean raising taxes on everything. Cars, homes, clothes, services, you name it, it's probably going up in price. Major layoffs and salary cuts across all public sectors. Food prices skyrocketed. Energy costs too. Ditto for the real estate market, but you know that has been the case for 10 years already, so we'll let it slide. Train tickets got way more expensive, but the trademark CFR experience? Still priceless. Cultural places like theaters and museums also got their funds cut. Art doesn't make money after all, so why even bother? And don't even get me started on welfare packages. Poof! Gone, reduced to atoms. Simply put, Bolojan's cold, cost-cutting hands were rated E for everyone. All in the name of efficiency and reform. Because we don't have enough of that in Romania. No. And in hard times like these, it's important to turn to the greediest, most ungrateful and parasitic people in our society.
Children! Those greedy bastards! Also, funny personal story, I have a friend, his girlfriend is 9 months pregnant. Every time she needs to go to the hospital to get a checkup, you gotta pay for that. And that's all the work of the new reforms. Thank you.
School tuition for students? Cut. Funds for research? Cut as well. I mean, again, research doesn't make us any money at all, so why bother? Teacher jobs cut. Entire schools in rural areas closed down forever. And I mean, what are the kids gonna do? They can't vote, you know, like f*** them. They're useless to the government. Now, on to other pressing matters. Romania has, how do I put it? A little problem with tax evasion and tax collection in general. So Bolojan pushed for a much needed reform for the digitalization of ANAF, the main fiscal authority in charge with collecting taxes. A sensible initiative which was blocked by PSD. Alright, how about we focus on reforming some of the state agencies and companies? Fine, what about pension system reform? People are begging for us to administrative reform, we have too many villages with 30 people. The age of retirement of top-ranking judges? So, as you can see, PSD blocked any reform attempts when it came to areas where they or any of the people they hired were in charge. How curious and very left-wing of them. There was also the time when PSD pushed really aggressively to dismiss the Minister of the Environment. What did she do? Her job, pointing out cases of embezzlement, inefficiency, and straight-up incompetence. By the bosses put in charge by, you guessed it, PSD. This was also fueled by a conspiracy theory saying that Romanian lakes and reservoirs were purposely drained so that the French could dig for gold there or buy fresh water. I really don't know at this point. Then you get to the issue of structural reforms. Basically, the EU pressured Romania into making significant reforms and overhauls in their state institutions, state companies, and everything and anything in between. Otherwise, they'd lose billions worth of funds. And these reforms were a total farce. Basically, people got fired to meet this imaginary quota. There were nonsensical office rotations, firing incompetent directors, only to then organize totally transparent contests for the same guys to get their job back. And the EU isn't dumb, they instantly noticed the smell of bullshit coming from Romania. So they reduced their funding. And it also didn't help that the debt and deficit were at an all-time record high. So Romania wasn't the most trustworthy partner to dump senseless amounts of cash into. Other than that, there was a huge justice system scandal. Some ministers came and went, the usual fraud and resume faking shenanigans. Too much to really get into. But TLDR, the current coalition is a total shit show. The PM makes himself as the face of austerity and budget cuts, becoming public enemy number one. And PSD members who voted with him keep acting like crybabies when set cuts are supposed to affect them, and ultimately block or half-assing reforms. All the while, the far-right party, AUR, simply just watches on. Pufuleț in hand, becoming the leading political faction, just by not being part of this disastrous coalition. Oh, you must not forget that Romania also has a president. And what was he up to during all these squabbles? Nothing. Nothing at all. Just observing, sitting on that fence as if his life depended on it. Not taking any sides and just spamming mediator and impartial buttons. Like a Polish Silver 3 League player spamming and then just like do the question mark like, fuck you, if I see you typing Polish in my game, you're getting muted instantly. They always feed the enemy team and then they play other games. Polish people are not meant to fucking play like the worst fucking server. Like the reason why EU and that's why everyone are not meant to. All the while, for the past year or so, PSD has just kept saying over and over that they'll resign from the coalition. Just bitching on and never doing anything about it. Until now, PSD voted on April 20th to pull out from the ruling coalition and started working with AUR of all parties on a motion of censure to take down Bolojan. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would a left-wing party make an alliance with a far-right one? There's something you have to understand about Eastern European politics. Ideology, core tenets, left-right splits, they don't really exist here. At least not like in the West. Here, it's all about branding and picking a key scapegoat for the rest of your days. Okay then, but why pull the trigger now? Is it because of the Iran war? Are opinion polls telling us something we don't really know? Is Austerity to blame, like always, those fucking snitches? Is it because Bolojan was finally going to turn his attention to the many state companies, where PSD members hired their entire family trees and sponsors? I mean, all valid guesses at this point. But let's hear from the quitters themselves. The Social Democrats motivated their exits by saying enough is enough, and that Bolojan is trying to sabotage national companies by devaluing them and selling them to evil investors abroad. You know, the thing PSD has been doing for decades at this point. We're against the listing of state companies on the stock market. We're not selling ourselves like whores. Mind you, this all happened during the term of the previous PSD Prime Minister. Okay, I know this has turned from a video on the Romanian political crisis into a PSD hit piece. But you know, that's what happens when one party is in charge for over 20 years. And on that note, remember Roșia Montana? You know, that whole scandal where they were gonna cover an entire village and its river in cyanide just to extract a little bit of gold. Good times, good times. I do wonder, who was in charge of that whole deal? Probably the Seki. It's not like I'm defending Bolojan or anything. Dude's clearly got his own issues. And I lost a ton of money from the Leo crashing. But you know, he's doing all he can with the hand he was dealt. So, you know. One thing is certain. PSD is back on the nationalist hype train. They're doing this whole shtick again that they're answering the cries of the people. You know, those people that got salary cuts and higher taxes. Voted and agreed on by PSD as well. Simply, they saw that Aur was leading the polls and want their voters back. Which is ironic considering Aur is made up of a lot of ex-PSD members. Mixed in with some football hooligans and a sprinkle of some mafia members. I mean honest businessmen, you know. PSD is relying heavily on the average Romanian's political illiteracy and naivete, which they're partly responsible for. And the worst part is, are people really gonna buy this charade? Well, not really. Leading up to their resignation, if you scrolled on the Romanian internet, you can see thousands of images of PSD members depicted as rats. And PSD reacted to this by reporting these images to the Anti-Discrimination Council. You know, it's absolutely crazy that they were actually comparing these posts to Nazi Germany's persecution. Ah yes, the most oppressed group of all, PSD. Which brings us to May 5th, when Romanian politicians voted in favor of dissolving the ruling government and firing Bolojan from his prime minister's seat. Okay, but now what? Well, no one really knows. Not even the people in favor of kicking Bolojan out know. This no confidence vote was just passed on vibes and brownie points, you know, I guess. Right now we're at the negotiating stage. The president is scrambling to form some sort of stable majority in parliament. But nobody seems to want to be a part of it, you know? Because it's Romania after all, fuck it, you know? Aur just wants to scream and shout without any responsibility, saying they're gonna do better, but never fucking taking the chance to actually be in power. PSD would like to go back to the good old days of party rocking with PNL, without those sexo-Marxist nerds running around and snitching. And the liberals, well, they decide to never again join PSD, which I'm not really sure about. You know, I have a feeling they'll be together very soon. So, what's gonna happen next? Will the pro-EU coalition reconcile and go back to normal? Will we see an unholy alliance between PSD and Aur? Or will another, more familiar face make their grand return? All we can do is speculate and convert all our savings to euros at this point. So yeah, let me know what you think. As always, if you like this video, give it a like, and if you're new here, click that subscribe button. My name is Janos, and you've watched Living Ironically in Europe. What the fuck? Shashaka wants to dismiss the president? God, fuck.